Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Midnight Horror Picture Show. Today's guest is Jake Kustasz, a Michigan-based author and video producer focusing on horror, comedy, and the absurd. His most recent release, A Devil's Night Tale, is a horror comic book illustrated by Ethan Woronko that also includes his original short story and an interview about the history of Devil's Night in Detroit with historian Jeff Pollock. Jake's talents aren't confined to any one medium, and we talk about his strengths, especially his ability to use social media to network and bring artists together for different projects. I'm very excited to share my conversation with Jake Kustasz. All right, Jake, welcome to the Midnight Horror Picture Show. Glad to have you.
Hey, Neil, how's it going?
Good, man. Good. Glad to finally get you on. I know this has been a couple months in the making here, but you sent me a copy of your book, A Devil's Night Tale, which is, it's interesting because it's not just a graphic novel. It's not just a short story. It's not just an interview. It's all three. And we'll get more into that, but I love a lot about it. So, but before we get into that, can you give our listeners just a little bit of background on yourself, kind of what brought you to this point and what made you want to make A Devil's Night Tale?
Yeah. So, for Devil's Night Tale, at least, been reading comics for a long time, been obsessed with them for a while, especially during the pandemic, started getting into them more, and do a lot of video stuff as well. And it kind of just like clicked, like, oh, like I could not have to worry about budgets as much for video and be able to write and do stories that I could never tell with video or without, a lot of money. So it's kind of like refreshing to do that. And yeah, just kind of exciting. The story kind of started off in a funny way. It was my girlfriend picked up a little tchotchke candle holder at a thrift store or a garage sale or something. And the little candle holder had like a tree, a little owl, a little ghost, and a pumpkin. And it looked like they were singing. And I just like had the idea that I was like, oh, this might be funny if they were like what's the little quartet type of band. And right. That's kind of where the idea spawned. I was like, oh, what if it was just like they were really scary and singing their silly songs? And then it spawned from that idea as I was trying to get into comics more type of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite comics that you are reading?
Oh, man. I mean, I read a little bit of everything. I love Alan Moore. Swamp Thing is like my all-time favorite. Yeah. I mean, I love Bone. Anything Alan Moore for sure. Jeff Lemire, big fan. Yeah, so I read a little bit of everything. Try to read as widely as possible for comics and outside as well. So
yeah, absolutely, man. The reason I ask, and I don't know if this was direction from you or your illustrator's own influence,
Ethan Woronko.
Ethan Woronko. There you go, perfect.
Yeah,
so
he's fantastic.
So good. But the way A Devil's Night Tale is illustrated in the graphic novel portion of it is very reminiscent of Charles Burns, who did Black Hole.
I've actually never read Black Hole, but it's on my list.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, no, I never read it.
It's
high on my list. It's one of those few that's like, I got to get to it. Yeah.
I've
seen him talk though, but I've never actually read any of his stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely just stylistically in the use of like mainly black and white. Obviously, Ethan throws a dash of red into his work, but that black and white and the use of the negative space is like very reminiscent of that art style. And I love it. And I feel like it's so underused as a style that it really packs a punch when you're looking at the images throughout this graphic novel. I think it does a great job illustrating the story. So I had to ask about that because Black Hole is...
Yeah, that was a conscious decision. So if you like look at it closer, there's a little bit of color in the text for the text bubbles. And as the story goes, there's less color as the story gets more depressing, serious, what have you. So you start to lose color as the story goes on, and a lot more red for some of the bloody scenarios, I'll say. So yeah.
I love that intentionality. I think that's, you clearly thought this through. So can you tell me the short story that follows the graphic novel in the book.
Hmm.
Did you write that first?
Yeah, actually, I wrote that one first. That was kind of like I was in the mood to write. That's what started the idea. Then I was like, oh, this could work for this would work for a comic book, and it was kind of worked great as a almost like a I don't want to say a rough draft for the comic because it's not exactly the same, but yeah, a little bit like a rough draft, and kind of was able to smooth out some stuff for the comic story.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But there, I mean, I really enjoyed reading that after as
Awesome,
like,
thank
hey,
you.
this is where that came from. I think that was really smart to include both, where you
Hmm.
have the visual medium of the graphic novel, and then you have more of like a fleshed out narrative. With that though, I had to bring this up
Hmm.
because, and we'll get into it later, but do you I think it's pretty obvious from reading the short story that you have some comedic tendencies in
Yeah.
your writing. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love comedy. Huge comedy fan. That's kind of what my like background is in terms of like my own personal creative stuff. It comes from
And
comedy.
we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but if it's okay with you, I'd like to share one
Yeah,
line that is absolutely
go
played
for
for
it.
comedy with our listeners. Okay. So this is after one of our teenage heroes gets brutally murdered. Um, and it's described as, it says the entire area gets splattered in blood like it was in the center of a water park, a blood based water park, one with blood slides, blood pools, and probably blood lemonade.
Oh,
And I laughed out loud reading that
I love
because
that.
I there's a couple of those you sneak in there because it's like a
Yeah.
very serious, and then you like some levity from this like third person narration voice, which is very clearly you, right?
Yeah. I like the like I don't know, it feels like when it's like so the kills are kind of cartoony in their own way and they're so gruesome if they don't have that little cartoony thing. I don't know. So yeah, it's just kind of fun. It's just like how I like to write and how I am type of stuff. So
Right. Well, and
yeah.
I feel like that's the line with like a lot of things is, without it's essentially the blood, right? If
Hmm.
there's no blood, it's slapstick. If there is blood, then it becomes gruesome, right?
Right.
So, and you see that a lot. I mean, it's, people who did the YouTube videos years ago recutting Home Alone as a horror film or
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh. I've seen
But
that.
it's the difference. It's Looney Tunes violence that essentially is made like very real, and the kills in this are visceral, and not just in
Hmm.
the illustrated graphic novel version, but I think in your writing as well. I think you did a really good job capturing the like intensity of the moments.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm actually not like a big gore fan. Like I love horror and I love cartoons. They're two of my biggest mediums I'm a huge fan of all around. But I don't really actually watch a lot of really gory horror stuff, to be honest. But when I went to do the kills, I just kind of picture what grosses me out the most and what scares me the most. So that's kind of my approach for writing those parts.
Yeah, absolutely, man. No,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fantastic. So what are some of your horror influences?
Well, definitely Swamp. Like I mentioned, Swamp Thing for sure. That's a major one for me. For as far as horror specifically, I love The Shining, Alien. Yeah, mostly horror film. I would say I love Japanese horror a lot. House is one of my favorite horror films of all time. So yeah, a lot of throughout all different mediums. But I'd say comics and film. I'm the biggest fan of horror of those specific mediums. But I've read a little bit of everything and yeah, so I like a lot of that type of
I
stuff.
feel like House
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense from
I
everything
love
we've
House.
talked about.
Yeah, and
I feel
there's this weird movie, Happiness of the Katakuris. Have you ever seen that?
No,
It's
I
got
have
a
not.
very similar tone to House a little bit. It's really weird and off the wall, uh, and also very gruesome too. Yeah, if you like House, I always recommend that to anyone who likes House.
All right, I'm gonna
It's a
have to
weird
check
one.
that out for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, House with the blend of like taking the horror into a crazy exaggerated space where it's just
Hmm.
like insanity,
Right.
which makes it in turn like it breaks the tension a little bit. I mean, there were the first time I remember the first time I watched House. I was like laughing 15
Oh,
minutes
same.
in.
Yeah. I was
So
blown away the first time I watched that movie.
yeah, yeah, I had never seen anything like it. So I like that. And we've talked I've had a lot of filmmakers on so far who have talked about the relationship, which is very true, of comedy and horror and how
Hmm.
they're like essentially two sides of the same coin when playing with expectations and to the audience, etc. There's a lot of
Hmm.
ways that they are very similar and they work, and I think that's why they work so well together. So talking a bit about your comedy background, can you tell us about MemeStudium and the talk show to go?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of like how I got started making just any art stuff in general was kind of originally I was just writing like scripts, trying to get them made for college like TV channel and different video production stuff for that. And then I just started making it myself. Did a little YouTube stuff, some comedy stuff too in high school. So that was just my foundation, just in like comedy sketches and little weird little videos. Then yeah, MemeStudium is kind of that's like my company, my media production company, where this is published under that, and also do like client freelance stuff as well through that. And yeah, so that's kind of my foundation, just comedy videos, a lot of one man band type stuff. And yeah, Talk Show to Go is it's currently on hiatus, but coming back soon, actually, in
Awesome.
a whole different way. But prior, it was kind of like a little bit like a podcast interview show that was on the go, and getting ready to kind of make it more like little mini docs in the future, with still an interview talk show type element. And that's got some comedy stuff too that I like to throw in there. So yeah.
That's awesome. So,
Hmm.
question for you on Talk Show to Go,
Hmm.
did you do the animations?
For what's there now, yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow. See that's awesome. I was wondering, okay, because you clearly have your hands in a lot of different creative fields, right?
Hmm.
And I mean, it's part of being a creative is find what you're good at, but also play around with different mediums. I think that's like
For
such a
sure.
good thing to be able to do.
And
Um,
from that, I learned I don't love doing animation.
is
Yeah,
well,
it's a lot. I
that
like
leads
some animation. I like kind of After Effects, like choppier type stuff, and that will definitely be continuing. I want to do more of that type of stuff. But actually, I worked with the animator for the new version of Talk Show to Go that's coming out. This guy named Bobby exclamation point. And he's fantastic, and he created the new intro that's going to be coming out here soon, and it's pretty sick. I'm really happy with it.
That's wonderful. That's
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. So that kind of may have half answered the question, but
Mm-hmm.
when you decided to do A Devil's Night Tale as a graphic novel, did you
Mm-hmm.
consider drawing? Did you
No,
consider illustrating? No.
not at all. No, no, I wouldn't even consider myself really an illustrator. At least, I mean, I'm still practicing a lot, and I'd like to eventually illustrate my own thing down the line. But I consider myself more like a doodler, and something like this is just not even close to my wheelhouse. So yeah,
That's
and would not work for the story I was trying to tell the way I want to tell it. It wouldn't work. So.
totally fair.
Hmm.
So because I'm sure a lot of people who are listening may be interested in the route you took in like how you set that up, right? So you had a story and
Hmm.
you realized like, hey, illustrating this out of my wheelhouse to do
Yeah.
it right, I want to get with someone. How did you connect with Ethan and how
Hmm.
did that process go with revisions?
Yeah. So, well, Ethan was. There was a few people that I reached out to first. So I reached out. I think I spoke to three other illustrators prior. The third illustrator schedules weren't working out, but he definitely interested. And then I was asked him if he had any recommendations, and he sent me a few people. And Ethan, I went through him and stuff, and I was like, oh, Ethan's like perfect. I didn't follow him. I follow all my comic book connection stuff is just through Instagram. So yeah, just reached out to Ethan, and he was down. He was available, and it was kind of pretty simple, straightforward from there. He was really great to work with, and obviously very super talented as well.
That's wonderful. Was there
Mhm.
ever a point in the process where, like at the beginning or anything, where Ethan gave you a first draft and you're like, "Oh, this is not it. This is."
No, I mean there's a few pages where we go back and forth in general, and I like to be really open just because it is a collaborative medium if you're doing writer illustrator separate. So there's times where I was like, oh no, I need this to look like this because of future plans or how I think the story needs to go. And then there was times where I was like, he came up with an idea and I'm like, oh, that's great. Like, let's go with that. That's so much better than what I would have had. And that actually happened more often than the former. So yeah, it was really collaborative back and forth. I thought it was really great the way we worked together, and I was really happy with how it turned out. He actually started with the first page he did was the skeleton dancing full page scene. That was the first thing he ever illustrated for the book because he wanted to start like dead center in the middle, and then he started from the beginning for a more like dialogue heavy, simple, panel heavy page. So that was kind of the first two I received where was the dance scene and then something from the beginning.
That's yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. And I think, coming from as someone who comes from a video production background,
Mm-hmm.
do you think that prepared you for like the collaborative aspect of
Mm-hmm.
what this project was, right? Because, I talk people have heard me time and time again, listeners can say it with me on the podcast, but film is a collaborative art, right?
Uh-huh.
It
100%.
takes so many people to put it together from all different aspects of production. But this seems like a lot of the same way where it is you're telling a story together. And I think that lends itself to discovering these moments that you may not have had in your original story or how you've envisioned it in your head. It's like the director of a film, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
You
it's just kind of more of like a producer approach. And I mean, all the best art comes from collaborative processes. Whether even if you're just a painter, you still need someone to help get into galleries and learn from. And yeah, so that's everything's always collaborative. I feel like that's always the best. But yeah, I definitely approach this using like producer background that I have, and that made that a lot more doable and feel. I mean, it was definitely overwhelming getting into something like this, but I was very excited to learn. So it was like an excitement there, but yeah, made it a lot easier just kind of relying on some of those past skills.
I was going through MemeStudium and going through your video work. The Museum of Memes, is that what it is?
Yeah, MemeStudium.
The Meme
Mm-hmm.
Museum. Okay. So the video aspect of that, the like 3D animation style, did
Uh-huh.
you do all of that?
No, that
No,
was
okay.
yeah, no, that a guy named Podge on Instagram. You could find him. I think I actually found him first. It was either YouTube or maybe TikTok back when I was on TikTok. But yeah, he's fantastic too. Um,
So I
really
think
great. That was like my exact vision. He put it to screen. Really, yeah, really cool.
that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm seeing a through line here, Ethan, right? Where I
Mm-hmm.
think you are very unique to any of the guests we've had on so far in your ability to request these like collaborations
Yeah.
with these other smaller artists.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell our listeners a little bit about that process? Like, do you already have some projects in the bank, or do you just see someone's work and are like, you know what, I have an idea, or I want to work with this person? How do you go about that process?
So it's all projects that I already have planned. I have like extensive notes and notes within notes and ideas. I actually rank them as like here's like a level one idea or level one project. I got sections of both of those, and then level two is okay. This is a little bit more refined, or I think this could work. Level one is just like I think it's really important. Just anytime I have an idea, just write it down. I've been doing that for like so long now, ever since high school. Just the moment I have an idea, write down on my phone. And yeah, so then I'm like, when I see it, when I take a level two project, I'm like, okay, this is something I want to move forward with because of X, Y, and Z. Then I start to just look up people to collaborate with. I think prior I used to do a little bit too much of just solo stuff, and it gets a little isolating, and I'm not like there's no way I would be able to animate something the same as Podge or that Bobby that who's got his like the intro for the new talk show. It goes stuff like that. It's just like I'm not going to do that. Not nor am I the best person for that job, and I don't want to do it. And I have a little more funds to be able to pay people to do that now because I'm a little later in my career. So yeah, I just love working with artists. I always find it so fun and love seeing people's work. Like doing the Devil's Night, like one of my favorite things is just getting the pages back from Ethan. Every time I got a page, it was just like open up a present on Christmas as a kid. I was like, oh, let's see what he's got for me, and it's just always so exciting. So I love that process a lot, and it's really fun. I think I'm realizing that I'm a little better at kind of being like the producer element and focusing more on like what my core creative skills are, and not trying to like do it all. And I enjoy it more as well. So
one of my clients that I edit podcasts for just had on someone who, and it's like a business podcast, right?
Yeah.
But he had someone on who was talking about like exactly what you just said, which is if you want to be like the most effective at whatever you're doing, focus on like what you're 80% good at. Anything below, like anything that you think your skill level is below 80%, you pay someone else to do it, you hand it off, you delegate, because if you're not focusing on what you do best, anything you're doing is going to suffer, right?
Exactly.
And that doesn't mean like don't grow your skills, like
for sure.
You know, like absolutely, but like on a day to day, and if you're like trying to make a project happen, right?
Exactly, and get artists paid too. I'm a big proponent of that. Yeah, let's pay some more artists. And yeah, 100% agree. And I think with that too, like I said, I'm a doodler. I consider myself a doodler, not illustrator yet. Maybe one day I'd be able to say that, but I think I've become a big better doodler working with Ethan and seeing that process and seeing his work. So I think that's also, you're going to learn from other people as much as they'll learn from you too. So I think that's always important for a creative process as well. Big Jim Henson fan, and I just feel like kind of how he approached his company and his in the Muppet Show and all that is he had his skill sets. He's overseer, worked with a lot of people who are also very good, and I really like that a lot. So.
Yeah,
and absolutely. It's fun. Yeah, you got to work with people. That's what it's all about.
It's so fun. It is. And I think because I don't think I even consider myself a doodler. My storyboards are atrocious. So, but that is absolutely a skill that I've always like tried to make myself a little better. But there have been projects where I've handed it off. I'm like, hey, this is something I need somebody else to do, so it's legible to everyone who's going to be looking at them.
For sure. I do think learning to draw, even just a little bit, just some basics, I think is really important. That's one of I love just being able to like throw in some music and just draw whatever comes to mind just in a sketchbook. And I think that's really nice and gets your brain moving and thinking. And yeah, it's a great practice. Anyone in a creative thing, just being able to do a little bit of drawing, I think is fantastic and important.
No, I think personally, that's something I definitely need to get back into. I tried, tell you a little story. I tried last year. I had bought.
What was the context?
The context was just for fun. My wife and I've never been great at drawing, and she's like drawn a little bit. We sit down and we like bought some charcoals, we bought a drawing pad, and we're doing exactly that. We throw some we threw a tutorial on YouTube, just like a drawing tutorial. And it's like, hey, this is how to draw like a human eye closer to photorealism, right? And I get done and I'm like, hey, you know what? That's probably the best eye I've drawn. And I'm like, hey, Jen, let me see yours. She has the perfect photorealistic eye drawn on her paper.
Not natural talent right there.
That's it. She's one of those people who's like very artistically inclined naturally. I think she has just this like innate talent, which I'm incredibly jealous of.
Yeah, I was jealous of that for sure.
And in times like that where I'm like, oh, I think I did pretty good. And then it looks like a circle with a dot in the middle comparatively.
Yeah,
I was like, I actually don't want to draw anymore. I think
you guys work on films together too as well?
So she has done a lot of the hair and makeup, and then what really interested her was special effects makeup.
Oh, cool.
So she has done her research on that and has, with her sister who art directs for a lot of my films, but they have done so much on like how to make appliances on the cheap, when it comes to scars and intestines, and
Hmm.
so that's been a lot of fun over the years. But I mean, they're very very talented
Hmm.
with their work. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
lucky to have them helping out on my
Hmm.
projects. So before we get to the third part of the book, I have to ask, just because I would do it, do the names Amelia Arbor and Claude Gravely have any significance?
Not really. No, I don't
Okay.
think so. I think Amelia was. I think that's the owl, if I remember correctly. I think it's just like Amelia Earhart. I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. And then Claude Gravely was just purely, if I'm remembering, I mean, as well. I think it was just that just sounded like a fun name. Yeah,
It does it
yeah,
does sound, the reason I
cartoony a little bit.
ask,
Yeah,
right, because these were, I think they were the headstone
yeah.
names, right? The reason I asked is because they are fun names, and I
Hmm.
was wondering because, like, especially like Claude Gravely sounds like something. You're a fan of comics. Have you read any of the like pre-code EC horror
Yeah,
comics?
I have. Uh-huh.
That's It
I
felt
like that
very
stuff a lot
much
too.
that. Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. It felt very much that to me. I was like, oh,
Uh-huh.
is this like a throwback to something, or are we? Plus, I'm one of those people who overthinks names like way too much,
Oh,
and I'm
same.
like,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
I like that part, and like Amelia Arbor. I think it's the tree really. I love like superhero names too, where it's some silly name that's like, of course, this person who has this power has a name that's related to the power. Like, what are the odds? That's the power they get. So something like
right,
that. That's just really fun. So yeah.
yeah, no, absolutely, man,
Hmm.
absolutely. Okay, so the third part of this book is your interview with, let me make sure I get this right, the
Hmm.
executive director of the Detroit History Tours and the Detroit History Club, Jeff
Yeah.
Pollock.
Hmm.
So you talked to him about the history of Devil's Night,
Uh-huh.
which, for listeners who don't know what Devil's Night is by the name, it is what we regionally refer to as the night before Halloween. Before we get into any of your interview with him, what drew you to set the story on Devil's Night?
So I feel like, I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I just turned 30 recently, and I feel like for Devil's Night growing up in this area, it almost had like it was kind of like a folklore thing. Like it was still a thing when you were really young, but you just saw it the occasional headline on the news that your parents had on. It was not a, you weren't really aware of what it was, or at least I was not aware of what it was fully, or the extent of how crazy it was. And so that's why I said it on Devil's Night. It's a cool, I like the name as well. I'm a big Eminem fan. There's the Devil's Night album with D12. So it just has this kind of mystical element growing up in this time, especially being from the suburbs and not being in the city itself where you experience anything. It's just like, oh, here's these little headlines. And of course, the news likes to blow it up and make it a bigger thing. So I kind of wanted to learn more about it, especially setting it on this, because I knew enough about it to be like, oh, this was not a great thing. And I don't want to seem like I was just like using Devil's Night the title. And so I wanted to learn more about it and have that in the book. So yeah, that's kind of what started that.
Your interview with Jeff is a very
Mm-hmm.
interesting read, because it does really delve into the history of not just the names, how we name all of this stuff, and like kind of where they came from, but really centering on Detroit's history with Devil's Night, what made
Yeah,
it that way. I'm a couple years older than you, but I'm still like wasn't really cognizant when it
right.
was, when it was happening at
You
its
grew up here
worst.
too.
I did. So yeah, I also remember seeing this on the news growing up and seeing images of the houses on fire, but it was, as someone from the suburbs. It's not anything that like ever directly
Oh, exactly right.
affected my evening. The worst thing that would happen is, I mean, it's still, as some people have called it was still like a mischief night. Like
Yeah,
we'd go
ding
ding
dong ditch
dong
or
ditch.
something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, like that type of stuff. Nothing crazy.
Yeah, nothing wild, but your interview really delves into kind of the socioeconomic position that the city of Detroit was in when
Hmm.
Devil's Night started, and I, as like a casual person who has just lived in the vicinity of it,
Hmm.
thought it was something that was created in the 80s as like a moniker, right?
Hmm.
If anything, if it was created tied to the city of Detroit, I would have assumed it happened in the 80s, but to find out that like actually no, the moniker Devil's Night was created in the what was it, 1929?
Way older than, yeah. I don't
Yeah,
remember the specifics, but way older than what we ever would have thought. Yeah.
yeah, which is it's wild, and it came up during like the Great Depression, which
Hmm.
is how and just our Detroit's ties to like all of that, and the kind of like downfall of the Industrial Revolution that's talked about. And this is like before the white flight out of the city, right?
Hmm.
And the riots of the 60s and stuff like that. So for anyone who is interested in Devil's Night, like really where that stems from, because we talk about Mischief Night, and I think it's also rooted. One of the names when it first came over to the Americas was Cabbage Night.
Cabbage night. Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought that was crazy.
you
I don't
know,
remember what they just threw cabbages at people's houses or something. Is that what it was?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
rotten
So
cabbages.
funny.
So
Uh-huh. And yeah, Jeff, he like painted such a great picture of like the history and bringing it to Detroit, and then how that, from when it got to Detroit, how it changed and how it got more from kind of sillier mischief stuff to more serious arson based stuff. And yeah, it was really interesting, like to learn all about that as someone who only knew very very little going in. And I read
right.
some stuff, but I actually didn't want to go into the interview with him knowing too much, so I just read some articles just to give me a something to ask some questions about. But in general, I went in pretty blind to that interview, which was fun.
Yeah, yeah, no, I definitely learned a lot. I think our listeners would all benefit from reading that as well.
Hmm.
So Jake, do you got anything on the horizon? What's next?
Yeah, I got a few things currently in development. Like I mentioned, Talk Show to Go is coming back and being rebooted fully. Yeah, the first guest for that is actually an episode I filmed a couple of years ago that I really liked. Kind of, yeah, started a new job, got busy, didn't do anything with the footage, even though I really liked it. So it's going to be shot how I used to shoot it with this new format, and then going forward, it's going to be a whole new format in general. But still, I still want to keep the same feel. But that's David Land. If you ever been to David Land in Clawson, highly recommend. Really fun. He's this guy
Okay.
David. He has his own backyard roadside attraction amusement park. It's really an art gallery back there. It's awesome, and you could just walk right back into his backyard of his house and check it out. So yeah, I did an interview with him a while back, and it was great, and he was really cool. So that's going to be the first episode coming back, and then yeah, I got some books actively in development right now too, some more comics. So looking
Some
forward
more
to
comics?
having
Awesome.
those. Yeah.
Anything you want to share as far as like,
I'd say the one part I could really share now, they're all pretty early on, is I had a short story called Staccato, the guitar playing cat in space or something. It was a little short story I had that was published in a literary zine. I really have done a lot with that character and rewrote that story almost entirely for a comic script, and have dove into really expanding that world, the world he might live in, him as a character. It's very, very different from the short story, but yeah, a lot more come with that. Of more than one story, one or one script. I have one script finished, another one close to being finished, and then I have, honestly, like, I'm gonna be writing that character for years to come. So I'm really excited for that to get out in the world. Got some character design work currently happening, and getting those back is really exciting. It's been in development for a long time at this point. So yeah, and some more Devil's Night related stories too that I'd like to write. that I have
Oh, that
some ideas fleshed out, but I haven't like put pen to paper on those yet.
got it. Well, awesome, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for you. I can't wait to see what you do next. I'm gonna drop links for MemeStudium, Talk Show to Go, where they can buy a Devil's Knight's Tale. That'll all be in the show notes of this episode.
Awesome.
Jake, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you taking the time.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Neil.
Yep. Take care. And thank you for tuning in. Make sure to grab your copy of A Devil's Night Tale. Link is in the show notes. Or if you're local to Metro Detroit, you can also support a small business by picking up your copy at one of the following: Vault of Midnight in Detroit, Green Brain Comics in Dearborn, Toadvine Books in Berkeley, the Berkeley Public Library in Berkeley, and for our Chicago listeners, Quimby's Bookstore in Chicago, Illinois. You can follow what Jake is up to next at MemeStudium.com or at Jake Kustash on Instagram. You can follow the illustrator of A Devil's Night Tale, Ethan Woronko, at epworonko_art. And you can learn more about Detroit History Tours on Instagram at Detroit History Tours. All of this will be in the show notes as well. Please make sure to subscribe to Midnight Horror Picture Show on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. And if you would be so kind as to leave a 5-star review, it's the best way to help build this platform for indie horror creators to be seen. You can find us on Instagram at Midnight Horror Picture Show. Our theme music is by Nick Ferrari. And check out our sister show, Dead Pine Archives, where we dive deep into urban legends, cryptid tales, and local lore. Midnight Horror Picture Show will be back in April with a new episode. Until then, stay spooky and keep supporting indie horror.